Hever Castle stood like a silent giant, its ancient stone walls whispering secrets of centuries gone by. One chilly evening, an 8-year-old boy named Tim received a letter unlike any he'd ever seen. It was written in shimmering golden ink on thick, old parchment. The message was from a princess who had lived in the very same castle hundreds of years ago, and who was long, long dead. The letter was a desperate plea for help. A mysterious, biting cold draft was sweeping through the castle, making the grand halls freeze over and the stable horses restless and afraid. Tim, being the brave adventurer he was, knew he had to answer the call. He packed his backpack with essentials, a flashlight, a rope, and some snacks, but his most important companion was Zip, his small, clever drone buddy. Zip wasn't just any drone. He could talk, scan his surroundings with advanced sensors, and of course, fly. Together, they set off for Hever Castle, which looked even more imposing in person, with thick mist curling around its tall, grey towers like ghostly fingers. The moment they stepped inside, the cold hit them like a physical force. The air was so frigid their breath plumed in front of them. The beautiful tapestries on the walls were stiff with frost, and a thin layer of ice covered the stone floors. They carefully made their way through the echoing corridors, their footsteps crunching softly. Zip zipped ahead, his rotors whirring quietly, scanning every nook and cranny. Tim, he buzzed, his digital voice low. I'm detecting an extreme temperature drop originating from somewhere high up, near the old armory. They followed Zip's lead, their journey taking them past suits of armor that seemed to watch them with empty eyes. To reach the upper levels faster, they ventured into the castle stables. There, they found magnificent horses, their coats thick and their eyes wide with fear from the unnatural cold. Tim, who had always dreamed of being a knight, gently calmed one of the powerful steeds. With a little help, he and Zip climbed aboard, riding through the castle's wide hallways just like the knights of old. It was both thrilling and a little spooky. As they galloped down a long, dark corridor leading to the armory, ghostly shadows began to flicker and dance along the walls. They twisted into menacing shapes, moaning softly as if guarding the passage. They don't want us to pass, Tim shouted over the wind. Thinking quickly, he spotted a collection of ancient weapons displayed on the wall. He reached out and grabbed an old, but still sturdy, sword. It was heavy in his hand, but he held it high, feeling a surge of courage. Stay back, he yelled, waving the sword at the phantoms. While Tim bravely held off the spectral guardians, Zip flew ahead, his lights cutting through the gloom to scout the path. But as Zip flew further into the castle's depths, he ran into a serious problem. Hever Castle was just too old. The thick stone walls, built long before the age of satellites and cell towers, blocked all signals. Tim, I'm in trouble, Zip chirped, his voice filled with static. There's no signal, no GPS. My sensors are failing, and my battery is draining fast without a connection. He began to wobble precariously in the air, his lights flickering like a dying firefly. He was a piece of modern technology completely lost in an ancient world. Tim called him back, worried. They needed a new plan. As Zip hovered weakly near Tim, his light beam happened to fall upon the stone wall beside them. That's when he noticed its faint symbols carved into the stone, almost invisible after centuries of wear. Wait a minute, Zip buzzed, a new idea forming in his circuits. He realized he didn't need modern technology, he needed old knowledge. The answer wasn't in the sky, but right here in the walls. He focused his weakening light on the carvings, scanning them not as a computer, but as a reader. The ancient symbols told a story, a map of sorts. They depicted a secret lever, hidden right there in the hallway, concealed behind a large, decorative shield hanging on the wall. Tim, behind that shield, Zip exclaimed. Tim rushed over and, with a great heave, pushed the heavy shield aside. And there it was, a rusty iron lever, just as the carvings had shown. Tim grabbed the lever with both hands and pulled with all his might. With a deep, grinding groan of stone against stone, a section of the wall swung inward, revealing a hidden spiral staircase. It was dark and narrow, but it led upward, right towards the source of the cold. They had found the secret passage. They climbed the winding steps, Zip now resting on Tim's shoulder to conserve his last bit of energy. At the very top of the staircase, they found themselves in a small, dusty room, and there, high on the wall, was the source of all the trouble, a large, broken window. Its glass was shattered, and their frame was splintered, letting the icy night wind howl into the castle. "This is it, Zip," Tim said, his voice determined. They had to fix it. He looked around the armory and found exactly what they needed. They were old wooden boards stacked in a corner and thick bolts of cloth that were once used for banners. Working together, Tim used the boards to cover the gaping hole, while Zip, with his last ounce of strength, helped wedge the cloth into the cracks to seal it completely. It was hard work, but finally, the window was tightly sealed. Instantly, the howling wind stopped. A sudden, peaceful silence fell over the castle. The biting cold began to recede, and the ghostly shadows that had haunted the hallway vanished like smoke. Just then, a soft, shimmering light filled the room. The spirit of the princess appeared before them. She wasn't scary at all. She had a kind face and a warm, grateful smile. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice like the gentle rustle of leaves. "You have saved my home. You used courage, clever thinking, and most importantly, you worked together." As the first rays of dawn streamed through the other windows, the castle began to grow warm again. The frost on the walls melted away, and the whole place felt alive and peaceful. Zip, perched on the windowsill, soaked up the sunlight, his solar panels slowly recharging his battery. He felt a new kind of pride. He had helped solve a problem not with fancy technology, but by learning from the past. With their mission accomplished, Tim and Zip said their goodbyes to the princess's spirit and rode their magnificent horse back through the now warm castle. They were tired, but their hearts were full of adventure. As they headed for home, they knew this was just one of many mysteries they would solve together, a boy and his drone, ready for whatever came next. Thanks for watching our story today. If you enjoyed Tim and Zip's castle adventure, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more exciting tales. We'll see you next time.